Welcome to TMI with Terrell and Martha. We're so glad you're here with us today. We want, if you're watching us on YouTube, to like and subscribe. Also comment and let us know what you want to talk about and who you want to talk about and what you think about the things we've talked about. So it's a lot of homework for you, but we want you to be a part of the program. Terrell?
So I wanted to welcome my best friend, Reneigh Satterfield, but we have her on the show today because she's also a financial advisor, and she's an Edward Jones financial advisor. So I'm going to turn it over to you. We're going to tell them a little bit about yourselves, those that are listening on all the podcast platforms and YouTube. We're going to talk a little bit about the importance of financial health to health in general of your life.
And how you get there.
And how you get there, yeah. And the good questions can be asked today.
Yes, that is correct. Well, I've been an advisor. I'm in my 28th year with Edward Jones. I started with the firm, and I'm in my early retirement with Edward Jones.
Whoop, whoop.
Yes, yes.
Whoop, whoop.
So back in the day, I had a financial advisor, and he was with Merrill Lynch, and he was teaching me about investing and the things that are important. So I thought, this sounds like a career I would like to do. I had graduated from Texas A&M and had our own lives that I needed to plan for. So I started with Edward Jones, and with my career, I have seen people's goals that they have worked toward for all these years that I've been advising them, because my clients have been with me for
a long time.
A very long time. Some of them since the beginning when I started 28 years ago. So I've seen vacation homes purchased, wonderful vacations that they put on their goals as something they wanted to attain someday. I've seen grandkids that they have funded 529 plans for the grandkids, and those kids have grown up, gone to college, graduated, and now they're starting their own families. So I have been through the realm of life cycles with my clients.
That's wonderful.
So I do understand the importance of why it's so important to plan for those goals that you set.
Yeah.
Because if you don't put a plan in place, it does not happen.
Right.
So that has been a journey that I have absolutely loved. And along the way, I've got 7 kids of my own. And so I'm teaching the importance of that with them. I'm teaching the importance of my grandchildren. I gift them accounts, stocks every year.
Oh, wow. That's a beautiful gift.
And every year I send them their statement. And we sit down and we talk about what they own and how they can go on and see their own, like if they own Disney or they own Coca-Cola, the things that they are familiar with. So I'm teaching them at an early age about the importance of investing, because one of these days when they become an adult, they have the control of those accounts because they're in custodial accounts for them.
It's so I have children that are 34 to 44, and they're all doing great. They are not making any of the mistakes that their father and I made as far as money's concerned, and they've learned, and we're doing that same kind of planning and that kind of helping for our grandkids and all of that. But I think what's interesting is that there's an age group that's like around from about 28 to 38 that they think things are harder for them. They think, and it is in certain ways, prices of homes, interest rates, things like that. But what would you say if someone came into your office and they were starting out but they're saying, but it's so hard to do this. How do we do this? I think it's all, I'm not saying it's easy. It's disciplined. You got to be disciplined about it. What would you say to somebody who was coming in young like that and saying, it's so much harder now. How are we going to do this?
Well, one of the things that I do with them is I have them write up a budget. Write your budget up. Let's see where you spend your money. Let's see how much discretional money you have.
Right.
And then we work backwards towards what they can do. Today, I had a Starbucks coffee. Well, Starbucks, when you go in there, you're going to spend $8 to $10 just
for a coffee.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
I can do a calculator to show them if they just don't spend money on Starbucks,
Right.
but maybe one time a week, and then take that money and put it into an account.
Right.
And I show them the benefits
Right.
of
Over time.
long-term
Right.
investing.
Yes.
Yes, the benefits of long-term investing. And everybody can give up a Starbucks coffee. I mean, that is not. But
I
you
can
have
give
to
it-
get them to
Yeah.
focus on
Something that matters to them, though, that they're spending money on, and how that could evolve into something.
for them
Bigger.
in the long term.
Yeah.
Because people don't understand. Back in our day, we used to pay 28 cents, and I know I'm dating myself. 28
She's
cents
gorgeous,
for a gallon
isn't
of gasoline.
No, I remember that's gas wars. Okay,
Yeah,
look it
gas
up. It
wars.
used to happen.
Gas
You'd have
wars.
4 gas stations on a corner,
Yeah.
four corners, and they'd be all fighting for your business.
Mm-hmm.
And 29.9 is the lowest I remember, but that's not too far from 28. You know what I mean? And
Well, yeah.
so I can remember buying gas for 29.9 a gallon.
Well, and now look at the price of gas at the gas station.
I am.
$4.19. I don't know. I think they just lowered it to $3.99, but it's ridiculous.
It cost me $90 to fill up my gas tank the other day, and I was just in shock.
Exactly.
I couldn't believe
And
it.
so people don't realize that the costs that we have today are going to escalate by, the inflation is, we figure 2.8%.
A year.
Historically, it's been about 3% a year, but right now for the past several years, we do figure a 2.8% inflation. So, you look at that. So what? But it's going
It
to be
adds
so
up.
what in
Right.
10, 15 years from now if you
Yeah.
don't put a plan in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important. It's hard to do. I remember the first time I sat down with a planner, I think I was around 28. Lynn and I, had just gotten married. Maybe I was about 30. And we did the budget thing. And he said, well, you should have X amount of dollars lying around. And I think that really people don't know how much money they spend on things.
That slips out.
And now it's so easy just to tap, 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 tap.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
That
I'm so
it's
guilty of that.
easy.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so guilty.
I mean, I get it. I get that it's,
Yeah.
it's funny. Come the revolution, I do have a stash of cash. But
She got her stash.
you know what I mean? Come the revolution, I'll be ready. But, and
Don't be saying that on your podcast.
I know.
where
It's
you
all
live.
right. It's all right. They'd have to find it first. But anyway, they'd have to get past my 200-pound dog. No, it's like,
That's funny.
But yeah, I said that to a friend. We were collecting up money for a baby shower for somebody, and I said, "Well, can I give cash?" And they were like looking at me like,
What's
"You're
that?"
some kind of crazy person.
Yeah.
What is this?" And I said, "Well, come the revolution, I'll be fine."
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. What about the gold bars buried in your
but,
backyard? We won't
when-
talk about that.
And we got started small, and then Bob Grant. I don't know if you remember him, Dr. Grant. He looked like Bert from Bert and Ernie, and he says, you guys have decided to have children young, so you're never going to have any money till you get in your 50s.
That's true.
And he was right.
Yeah, it's
he was
hard.
right. Not that we didn't have money,
Right.
But we had kids to put through college and braces to do, but we still saved all through that
Yeah.
time. We just, as we started getting rid of those kids and getting them off the payroll, we increased what we could save.
And I will say this, I think this is really, really important. We're talking about financial health. A lot of plans, 401k plans today, the new employee that comes in, they're automatically enrolled in a 401k plan. What a great thing
It's a great
for
thing.
employers to
And then
do.
employers match too.
Yeah.
And the employers, many of them will match up to 3% or more. It depends on the employer. But back in the day, I can remember that I was never in a 401k.
Right.
My parents, we were very blue collar. We didn't have anything.
Right.
And so we didn't know about a 401k.
401k.
But then when I got out, I got my education, I went to work, and then I started putting a little bit into the 401k.
Right.
And then as I got into the business and I started doing these retirement planning for my clients, then I could see the benefit of the younger generation. They did not understand how important it was to plan for your own, because who
They don't
I
think that far out.
Well, I don't
Like,
think
first of
Social
all.
Security is going to go away, but many people will think that, oh, I'm going to live off the government. Well,
You
no,
cannot
you're
do
not,
that.
because
No.
you will have to change your
No.
lifestyle. Number one, and number two, who knows if Social Security
We'll still be there.
will still be there? I think
Right.
it will. I think
Yep.
it
I do
will
too.
be
We
there.
did do our plan though without it.
That's
you know what I mean?
Because
And-
that should just be like
Yes.
extra.
Yeah, and but I know some people can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they have
Yeah.
to. It's all a part of the whole thing.
Absolutely.
There was a guy named Dale Anderson who a couple of years ago in the graduating class of all Georgia high schools. I mean, it was close to 100,000 students. He gave his book called "The Talk About Money," which is kind of like the talk about sex, you know, but the
Yeah.
talk about money. And his presentation is that if you start saving from your first paycheck, you know, that because your first paycheck is usually the most money you've ever had in your life, right? You go to work for the
Yes,
first
exactly.
time, you get that first paycheck, but then what do you do with? What do most people do? They spend it because it's my first
Right
paycheck. I
off
got
the
plenty
bat.
of time to save. But if you take that, you know, 20% or 30% right off the top.
Right.
And he said, give 10% to your church, give
Tithe it
10% to
somewhere,
yourself, but you'll never miss it if you do that. Now, I don't think there's many people that will actually do that, but he showed these charts where, you know, even somebody making a entry level position and then working their way up could retire very comfortably
Right.
if they
Yeah.
would consistently do it. Now, I joked about my husband and I making mistakes because we're second marriages, and so we came into our marriage like less than zero, okay? And, you know, because we were
Happens.
like the responsible members of our relationships,
Yeah.
and so we covered all the bills, both of us. But what we did was when we got married, we made it a priority. And we've been married 36 years,
Wow.
so we've made
Yeah.
it a priority the last 36 years. And, you know, we're doing pretty well. I mean, I'm not, you know, knock on wood, I'm not, you know, I'm always trying to, you know, we're at an age now where we're thinking about retirement. We're thinking about what we're going to do. And we feel pretty good about it. You know, we've planned some cushions in there.
Well, and that's really important. And you hit the nail on the head, because 20%, even if it's 13%, 10% to charge, and then 3% of what, pay yourself first.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
the importance
That-
of financial health, is
Pay yourself
you
first.
have to
I-
pay yourself first. And the way you do that is by putting money away. If you don't have a 401k,
Right.
open up an IRA or something.
Something.
Don't put it in a savings account, because
It doesn't
God
generate
knows-
anything.
No.
Yeah.
So put it into some kind of tax-deferred investment, to where that it does compound. And like you said, 30-something years ago when you started, y'all did a good job.
Right.
And look at where you are today. And people need to understand that early on in their lives, because if they don't, I run calculations for my clients that,
Right.
and I tell the young people that if you want to retire at 50 or 55, by doing this today, you'll have the option. Doesn't mean you have to.
You don't
do
have
it,
to do it,
but
right,
you'll
right,
have the option of retiring if you do if you're a good steward with your money today at your age. That
Right.
when you get to a retirement age for you, whatever that looks like, you'll have the option. And so that's always been the way I have advised my clients, because it's difficult to think in the short term. These Gen Xers,
Yeah. They're just
all
not
about-
there.
They're
In the moment.
Well, they're experience driven. They want to
Yeah.
travel, and they want
Live
to
in
go
tiny
out.
houses and pull their houses behind their truck.
Right,
or
right, and there's
whatever.
nothing
Yeah.
wrong with that.
No.
As long as they are paying themselves.
They need to plan their future selves, really, kind of, in a way. You know, it's you know, remember Dave Ramsey, the snowball
Yes,
technique? I was in a situation where I had gotten married, and I didn't really double check the finances of the partner I was marrying,
Darn how that happens.
or the financial, you know, soundness of that person. Not that it wouldn't have necessarily changed my course of action, but I would have been more prepared for what I ended up with. So, but I heard Dave Ramsey, and I used the snowball technique to help clear his debts, right?
Yep.
And it actually worked. And within a year's time, we were debt free. which we didn't start that way at all. But, I think if you look at divorces, if you look at suicide rates, and you look at things that cause great deal of angst to people, it is the fear of, just homelessness and just abandonment.
Living
and,
longer than your money.
Yeah. And that, fighting over finances, the insecurity that comes with living paycheck to paycheck, that is such a difficult thing. And I know many people in our country and in the world are doing that. But to be able to find a way through good counsel and good support to find a way to save and give your future self something to look back on. I mean, I was lucky to try. I used as a personal trainer. I traded when I first started. A fee-only financial planner in Fort Myers wanted me to be his personal trainer, and I was young, had 3 children, had recently been divorced, and I was like, I have an idea.
Let's barter a little.
I'm gonna trade with you.
Yeah.
And I'm still seeing the benefits of that trade today. I hope he does, Todd. Yeah. But no more cruises. But anyway, or the buffets on the cruise line. But anyway, the benefits of knowing him really still pay off in my life today, because that's one of the things he did. Is he said, okay, let's talk about paying yourself first. Let's talk about 401k. Let's get some income deferred investments. And these were all things, I'm thinking, are you crazy? I'm raising 3 kids. I'm, trying to take care of things on my own.
Well, you think you can't do it until you do.
And
then once you get in the habit of doing it, then it's second nature. And then you start to think, how, speaking of Dave Ramsey, we used to do that Dave Ramsey thing where you gave each other a certain amount of money each month you could pay, that you could spend without having to talk to the other one about it.
I love that.
But it's gotten to the point, because we tap so much, we don't really use cash that much.
Right.
And so we said, why don't we take that amount of money and let's just put it in our investments? Let's just put that much extra in our investments. And if we need to go back, we can,
right.
But let's do it. And so we did. It's been several months. We haven't missed it. I mean,
that's
we
smart.
haven't missed it yet.
Absolutely.
So it's like trying things. But I know there's a lot of people out there that think, well, that's easy for you guys to say. You guys have plenty of money. When you have plenty of money, you get more money, and all that kind of stuff. But I had a friend tell me that, that anytime they got an increase in taxes or something like that, they found a little side hustle that they could do.
Oh,
and and that's how they made up for it.
Yeah.
And so, I just think there's also work ethic involved. There's also all those kinds of, very few of us just sit there and get a check for nothing,
Well, I think it's important for your listeners that you have to want to do this. You have to want to
be secure
plan for your future, because if you don't want to do it, you're not going to be consistent with it. So just like Martha said, she put money in an envelope and she could spend it and realize that you weren't spending it. So you were a good steward with that money. But for young people, anyone that is interested in doing planning for their future, they have got to really be serious about it, to get their budget out, to see where they're spending
and
their
stick
money,
to the budget,
and where they have money that they're not spending, that's just going in the checking account, that they could actually be investing either into a brokerage account that it's accessible all the time, or they can open up retirement plans for themselves. But I think the first step with this is just to make sure that it's something that they want to do. Right. Because until they want to do it, they are not going to do it. They won't be consistent.
Well,
and disciplined.
There's so many, I guess Charles Schwab, where you do it yourself, that kind of thing. We've always used a broker, because I'm not detail oriented about certain things, about numbers. I'm not detail oriented. And my husband didn't have the time. And you got to have the time. Now, my aunt, she had spreadsheets, and she followed. That was her job. That was her full-time job, to follow their investments.
Wow.
And that's what she did, and that was great for her, but what didn't work for me. So how do you determine if, I think everybody needs a plan, but if
Right.
it might be something that is it a personality type that can do these, these
Diverse,
self-plans, self-guided plans, or do you think everybody should have a broker?
Well, that's
Or a
great-
financial planner.
That's a great question. Is a financial advisor? That is a great question. Today, people can do what we call target date, and they can invest into a target date. So to give you an example, this is the year 2025. We'll say 25, and say they're going to need the money in 25 years, so they can put it in a target date of 2050.
Okay.
So
Oh, wow.
inside of that target date, there are managers, not a financial advisor. I'm saying if they want to do it by themselves. There is a manager that manages that target 2050, and as they get closer to the year 2050, it might be 100% in equity stocks in the beginning, but as they get closer to 2050,
start diversifying.
no, it's always diversified.
Okay, good.
But as they get closer
Less risky.
2050,
yeah.
it becomes less risky, and there'll be more investments in fixed income
Okay,
versus
okay.
Because
equities.
the biggest
Yeah.
problem is what you mentioned earlier, is people outliving their money.
That is
Yes.
that's people's biggest fear
Yeah.
is they will live longer than they have money.
And we are living longer,
We are.
so it's a reasonable fear.
Yes, absolutely. So, did I answer your question?
You did. You did.
And the other thing, I'm going to back up and talk about those people that would need to use a financial advisor. So, in my career, I have been through the dot-com era, 1999, where I had people come in my office, and I'd say, you know what? We need to take your profits and we need to do something with it. Why would I want to take profits? It's just been going up and up and up and up. Well,
What goes up must come down.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right, and that's exactly what happened in 1999.
Yeah.
It happened in 2000 through 2002. We were in a 3-year down market. And so those clients that did not want to sell the stock
Right.
or whatever it was, not only did they lose their gains,
Right.
but they also lost principal along with it. So a financial advisor will guide you through those moments like that. Number 2, a financial advisor will hold your hand and help you with your emotions, because I tell the younger advisors that if you're going to be successful in this business, you have to be a student of history, because you have to know what happened, because
Absolutely.
your clients are going to come and they're going to be fearful and they're going to say, oh, this is different.
Right.
And so when we talk about financial health, it's important to understand that there's going to be ups and downs are part of the journey.
Right.
Down markets are part of the journey.
Yeah.
For every one down year, historically, we have 5 years that follow up. And so you can weather whatever the markets do, but
Right.
the importance of the financial health, to stay on topic,
Right.
is it is important not to let the noise of politics
Scare
or
you.
wars or inflation scare you. You have to realize where your goal is,
Right.
and that we're going to have times like this, but your goal may be 5, 15, 30, 40 years out. It may
Right.
be a long time out, but you have to stay focused and diligent about what your goal is and how you're getting there.
Right. And
And,
trust the financial advisor who does it for a living,
absolutely.
and kind of take your lead from them, because I know a lot of people that didn't trust their financial advisors lost a lot of money during those
2008
times.
2008 was a horrible time,
Yes.
because the market
Yeah.
dropped 60% from top to bottom. And then when the market dropped, it just bounced like you take a rubber ball and you hit it. That's what the market did. So as a financial advisor, I tell younger advisors, you have to be a student of history, because
Yep.
you can't let people be fearful about what they're experiencing in the moment, because this will pass.
History
This
says
too will pass.
Yes.
This will pass. Absolutely. So, I've seen some really ugly markets, and my clients have stayed true because I've always been a student of history, and I want to be able to help them through that. Even though it feels like it's different,
Right.
it's not. In
Right.
the markets, the things that you
The world
own,
looks different, but the patterns remain the same. And that's what I try to tell my kids, too. And in the scheme of things that are going on, it looks very different, the world. But the patterns that run within it are similar.
So in financial wellness, financial health, it is important to set goals. It's important to have a plan on how you're going to reach your goal. And it's very important, number 3, to keep your eyes on your goal and don't listen to the noise, because it will destroy your financial health. Because I've seen too many times where people get fearful and they just go to cash. Well, that is not going to ever help you reach your financial goals.
It was funny. I told my broker, if I ever come and tell you to pick a certain stock, don't ever do it. Just nod your head.
Just
because I
smile
always,
and
when I'm
walk
doing it
away.
myself, I always pick the wrong time.
That's so
But I've
funny.
learned that I bought Coke at the wrong time.
You just walk away from it.
I know.
Just smile.
Just smile and say, okay, you know what the plan is. And that's to your point.
Yeah.
We have a plan. She knows what our plan is. She knows how we want to get there. And, someday I guess we'll quit working. I don't know. Someday we'll quit working. But I don't know when that day is yet. So
Well,
we'll see.
At this point, you probably have the ability,
If you wanted
want
to.
because you planned, you put a
Yeah,
plan in
we
place,
did.
you
Right.
and your husband, and y'all have stuck to your plan.
Yep.
And
And we have
Congratulations to you.
Now, how important is it to have a paid off house?
Well, are you asking me that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or are we saying
In the retirement plan.
And,
You know
like-
what I mean? A paid off, because we have a paid off house. That was one of our biggest goals, was that we wanted our
Half the
house paid
mortgage.
off, and we don't include it in our plan because, I talk about the revolution a lot. Come the revolution, if everything goes to hell in a handbasket, I can still sell my house. And you know what I mean? And not be broke.
Well, maybe
That's
so.
very conservative.
Word
It's
of
very
revolution.
Who knows?
I know. But I like being conservative about the plan.
That's a great question, Martha. For me, I talk to the client and I ask them what their payment is and how much their interest is. And so if they're paying 3%, 3.5%,
Keep it.
and
Keep
we're
it.
making
Yeah.
7, 8, 10%, keep
Leave
your house,
it.
number 1. And number 2, if you itemize your deductions, you can write that interest off.
Right, right.
Yep.
So it all depends on the person and
Yeah,
their
and
plan.
what the
That's right.
numbers are.
And that was your plan, and that's a beautiful plan. But for those people
Viva
that,
la revolution.
for those people that they did not go and refinance their homes when we had 2.5%, 3% interest back 10 years ago, it makes perfect sense for them to pay off their whatever their debt is, whether it's
get
college.
out of that higher interest.
One of the
Yeah.
things that we have are, we have younger people that have
College loans.
and they're paying 7.5%. Well,
That's-
it makes sense at times when they're paying interest like that. Yes, we want to get rid of that. If they've got a credit card that they've got a lot of money on it, they're paying 19%. Obviously, we
Yes,
want to get
get
rid
rid
of
of it.
that.
Yeah.
Dave Ramsey,
Yeah.
you
Snowball.
pay off the high interest rates, but your low interest rates you keep. But you double up if you pay this off. You double up
Yep.
on those lower interest
Yes,
rates
yes.
until you get it done.
It does work. I mean, but you have to be disciplined, you have to be consistent, and you have to, like you said, you have to really want it. I'm hoping that the listeners pass this along. Moms, dads, if you're listening to this show, you send this to your 20-somethings or your 30-somethings, because one of the things I keep telling my daughters, and I have one in particular who's very interested in this information, but when you show her the leaks, I call them the leaks in the boat, right? Mm-hmm. Look where all this money is just leaking out and getting nothing. You're getting
Starbucks
nothing.
money.
Right. Or Dunkin' Donuts. And you know who I'm talking about. But anyway, it just leaks. It leaks
Yeah.
away. But if you added up all that money and you had put that into something like they act like they don't have enough money to invest. Like, I can't invest. I don't have enough money. Really? So that's the question. But to have somebody like you, and maybe not mom, be able to say, let's sit down and look at that budget.
But they got to want to do it.
They have
that's
to
the
wanna
thing.
do it.
And
Yeah.
and I love, there are a lot of great companies out there like Chick-fil-A and a few others that they really invest in their employees' financial
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
health and knowledge. Do you know what I mean? That they make sure that they have tools. I know my son just went to work for a new my son-in-law just went to work for a new company, and they've got all those kind of resources. And I just said, use this stuff. You're working
Yeah.
for a big company right now that has this stuff. Your dad and I have always been self-employed.
Right.
Every dollar we have, we've made and we've earned interest on. Nobody's been matching anything.
Right.
But if you're in a situation where you can do that, do it.
Take advantage.
And
That's
you just
right.
made another point that I think it's really important that I tell all of my clients that are working. You want to defer into your 401k the minimum to get their maximum.
Yes.
So if they're matching 5%, then by all means, you want to put in 5%
Yes.
so you get that 100%
Right.
match. And then, as each year, we always talk about how much are you actually putting in, because every year people get raises. So if they would take the amount of money that they get in a raise, and instead of changing their lifestyle, maintain their lifestyle and just put that
Slip
raise
that
money
in.
into the 401k and maybe increase it from 4 or 5 or 6%
Wow,
each year.
that's a great plan.
And yeah, I think that is really important that people understand there are options that they can do.
So we're seeing the 401k is a fairly new vehicle, right? 80s is when it came into play, something like that. And we're now seeing people that are retiring with 401ks. Are we seeing that it's working the way we hoped it would work?
Absolutely.
Good.
That's good
Absolutely.
news. Yeah.
And the other thing that the government has given us maybe 15 years ago, where you can invest money into a Roth versus a traditional.
Right.
So traditional is if you make $100 and you put $10 in, you pay tax on $90. Whereas with a Roth, if you make $100 and you put $10 in, you're paying tax on $100, but you get tax-free growth on that $10.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
in the future,
And that's income strapped, right? It's Roth
No,
IRA.
no.
You can make any income?
no, I'm talking about 401k.
No, but you said the Roth IRA.
Okay.
Yeah.
Traditional Roth, I'm talking about a 401k.
Okay, got it.
In the 401k, nowadays, the employers will give you traditional option and they'll give you a Roth option.
Okay.
So if you're young and you're not in a high tax bracket, then it makes perfect sense to go ahead and pay the taxes today because you're in a smaller tax bracket.
Right.
And defer all of your money that you're going to put in to the Roth. And then as you get older, you're making more money.
Right.
Then you decide, do I need a tax break now, or do I want to continue putting into my Roth? You're limited. I want to say maybe it's 19,000 or 20,000 is what you can put into a Roth or a traditional
Annually.
401k
Right.
annually.
Right.
And then of course you get matching from your employer, but as we get older, we're in higher tax brackets. We just have to decide, do we need a tax break that bad, or can we go ahead and continue funding our Roth? Because one of these days, when you take money, and I tell my clients this today,
Yeah.
that one of these days when you do retire, and say you want to stay in your lifestyle is $100,000 a year, and maybe that's we're going to say a 15% tax bracket, and I'm
Right.
making this up. I don't
Yeah.
know what the numbers are, but 100,000 is a 15% tax bracket, and if you take out more, maybe it puts you up into a 18 or 20% bracket. So
Okay.
what we will do is we will put a plan together, and we will say, okay, we're going to take our 100,000 out of our traditional 401k in retirement.
Right.
And then if we want 125, we'll take 25 out of the Roth portion so we can stay in this lower tax bracket.
Okay.
So it's just a tax planning strategy for those clients or those
Keep the tax
employees,
burden.
the employees that
Yeah.
actually deferred into their retirement plan. If they stay and put money into the Roth in their early years, then when they get closer to retirement, if they, like, I've had people that want to buy a car. and they'll come in and they'll get their money out of their Roth portion because they don't have to pay
Taxes on it. It's already taxed.
It's already taxed. So, there's a lot of things that we can do.
Strategy.
Yeah.
A lot of strategies. And, when you talk about some people want to pay their house off, well, sometimes we will go into that Roth portion of their 401k that they've rolled into an IRA. We're talking about rolling into an IRA. We might take some of that Roth out to pay off the house. Maybe it's $50 or $75 or $100,000 to give them that relief so they don't have to do it. And they're not going to pay, because anything you take out of the traditional is going to stack on top of Social Security or pensions or whatever.
Right.
So there's strategies.
A lot of strategies.
But the thing is in financial health is if you're working with a financial advisor and they kind of plant the seed, does it make sense to put the majority of your money into a Roth today? Yes. If you're young, absolutely.
Listen up, folks.
Yes, listen up. If you're young and you're not making the high dollars, then it makes really good financial sense to put the money into the Roth. And then later on, as you get into higher tax brackets, you're making more money. You put it into the traditional part of the 401k. Then when you go into retirement, you roll those assets into IRAs, traditional and Roth, and you decide when you take money out, what bucket that money is going to come out of.
Okay. So when you're living in your retirement years.
When nobody's paying your bills but you're not getting a salary, then you have to decide where that money's going to come
am I living out of this bucket right now or this bucket?
Mm-hmm. Or a combination.
Okay. Wow.
So, Reneigh, if people want to get in touch with you or know more about you, how can they do that?
Well, I work for Edward Jones Investments up on Thompson Bridge and North Hall. And they can call my office, 770-536-2031. And we would love to sit down and see what's important to you and what we can do to help your dreams come true, because we'll help you set goals and we'll show you how to get there, and then we will walk through it with you to make sure you stay on your goals.
And this is for anyone any age, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So it was so great to have Reneigh here today. She has such an infectious personality, and I just love having her here. And it is just great to be and talk about financial health, because it's all kind of, mind, body, spirit. It's all got to be there. And so we really appreciate you being with us today.
Thank you.
And as usual, everybody knows how much we love what we do, and we thought the financial health aspect of my relationship with my friend would be a great topic to bring to the podcast, because it does matter. And as everybody here knows, Martha and I love what we do. We love the people we're seeing, and we do believe with all of our hearts and souls that your wellness deserves a little oversharing.